On a noisy, overcrowded street in eastern Nigeria, stood a tall, tired-looking flat, its paint peeling, balconies rusting, and windows always half closed, like the building was watching silently. Each apartment was filled with tenants, couples with children, struggling singles, young dreamers, yet none of them had anything to show for their lives. They all lived hand to mouth. Not because they were lazy, far from it. Before moving into that building, each one of them had once been successful traders, civil servants, artisans. But the moment they vacated their former homes and moved into this place, something changed. Slowly, misfortune settled like dust, businesses crumbled, children fell mysteriously sick, and hunger became a familiar visitor. They all suffered quietly, each assuming life was just hard. No one imagined the building itself was the curse. The landlord, a stern middle-aged man with graying hair and hollow eyes, had no wife, no children, and no joy. He lived off the rent, his only source of income. Every other venture he tried had failed inexplicably. Marriages never worked out. Every woman he approached turned him down without explanation. Frustrated by the tenants' endless excuses, he began issuing quit notices. The first to receive one, a quiet man with 3 children, eventually packed out, managing to scrape together enough for another place. A few weeks later, he opened a new shop. His children looked healthier. He started smiling again. Word spread. The neighbors noticed. And slowly, people began to flee the building. Not long after the first tenant left, the second packed out, a young contractor named Uchenna. Months later, news reached the old neighborhood. Uchenna had secured a major road construction deal. He was back on his feet, driving a car, his children glowing with health. This caused a shift. Even the skeptics, those who had once laughed off any talk of a curse, began to reconsider. One by one, the tenants packed out, some quietly, others in a rush. They left behind their rooms, their debts, and the mystery. In just a few months, the building stood empty. Silent. Watching. The landlord, Mr. Agadi, sat alone in his 2-bedroom unit, staring at the cracked walls like they owed him answers. Whispers started flying in the street. Some said he was into occult practices, others said the building was used for rituals in the past and that he was reaping the reward. Nobody wanted to rent the flat. No agent would list it. Children crossed to the other side of the road when passing it. Left with no choice, Mr. Agadi decided to sell the building. He'd use the money to relocate abroad, maybe start a new life in Ghana or the UK. But no buyer came forward. For 6 whole years, the building stood untouched, aging, decaying, cursed. Until one evening, Patrick, a shrewd young businessman with a keen eye for underpriced properties, heard the rumors about the house. The same rumors that kept everyone away were, to him, an opportunity. He believed in numbers, not ghost stories. That night over dinner, he shared his discovery with his wife. "Miracle, there's this property in the east. Everyone's scared of it, but it's cheap, well located, and could be a gold mine for my next estate." His wife, Miracle, elegant, strong-willed, and deeply prayerful, looked up from her plate. She said nothing at first. Then gently, "Not every cheap land is a blessing, Patrick. Let's wait and pray first. Just a few days. Please." Patrick frowned. He loved and respected his wife's instincts. Her prayers had saved him many times before. But something about this deal tugged at him, a pull he couldn't explain. That night, as Patrick slept soundly beside her, Miracle knelt beside the bed and prayed. Her heart was heavy with unease. "God, if this house is not for us, speak. If there's something hidden, reveal it to me." She eventually drifted off to sleep, and in her dream, a soft breeze blew through her window, and a woman stood at the edge of her room. She was young, stunning, dressed in white, with eyes full of sorrow, not anger. "Please," the woman whispered, "don't let your husband buy that building. Stay away." Miracle stared in confusion. "Who are you? Why are you warning me?" The woman smiled weakly. "I have nothing against you. But your husband must never set foot there. The man who built that house, Mr. Agadi, owes me his life." The room darkened. A story began to unfold like a movie in Miracle's mind. Years ago, Agadi and the ghost, her name was Chioma, had been lovers. Not just ordinary lovers, but so deep partners who struggled together. Chioma believed in him with all her heart. She sold her clothes, borrowed from friends, and gave up her dreams to fund his. She fasted. She prayed. She pushed him toward greatness. And finally, God answered. Agadi struck gold, landed a huge investment, bought land, and started building what became the now infamous flat. He started other businesses. He rose fast, but forgot even faster. Chioma, now exhausted and broke, became a burden in his eyes. She no longer fit the image of the successful man he was becoming. So, he found someone new, Lillian, a wealthy, educated working-class lady who moved in elite circles. And Agadi. He started planning. One day, he called Chioma and said, "Come see the new house. I want you to manage it. You'll be the landlady." Chioma's heart swelled. She danced with excitement. She wore a new dress and made herself up, and together they left. She believed in Agadi. But Agadi had already hired armed men. Their instructions were clear: make it look like a robbery. Take him as a fake hostage. Kill Chioma. That evening, as Chioma stood admiring the compound, dreaming of a shared future, soon shadows emerged. Screams echoed. Chioma's blood soaked the ground. Agadi was kidnapped, held in a hidden hideout, then released. Nobody suspected him. He cried at her funeral. He was even praised for surviving such a trauma. But the earth does not forget. Neither did Chioma's spirit. "I was buried with a heart full of betrayal," the ghost whispered. "So I buried his fortune with me. That house will never bring life. Only loss. Tell your husband, it's not just bricks. It's blood." The room turned cold. The dream ended. Miracle gasped awake, drenched in sweat. Patrick was still asleep. Peacefully. At the break of dawn, Miracle shook Patrick awake, her hands trembling, her eyes wide with fear. "I had a dream," she whispered. "A woman came to me. Chioma. She told me everything. What Agadi did. Why the house is cursed." Patrick sat up slowly, the weight of her words sinking in. He didn't need to ask questions. He'd seen enough in life to know when the spiritual spoke, you listen. Especially when it spoke through his wife. "I believe you," he said quietly, though his heart ached. He cancelled all plans. The papers remained unsigned. And just like that, the building was left once more to rot, uninhabited, unwanted, untouched. With no tenants to pay rent and no buyer in sight, Mr. Agadi's world began to unravel. He couldn't afford medication. The tiny food he had run out. He fell ill, slowly at first, then all at once. His bones ached. His eyes hollowed out. The once proud man who had walked with arrogance now dragged his feet with shame. Neighbors avoided him. Even his own relatives no longer picked his calls. Hunger became his companion. Sickness became his shadow. And the building. It stood silent, watching. Months later, a wealthy investor named Chief Ome came into town. Bold. Arrogant. Known for flipping haunted lands into luxury estates. When he heard about the abandoned flat on Ezioku Street, he laughed. "I don't believe in ghost stories. I believe in opportunity." He offered cash. No inspection needed. Just the land documents. That night, Chioma came to him too, not in a dream, but in a mirror, just as he was brushing his teeth. Her face emerged behind his reflection. You have been warned. This land is soaked in innocent blood. Chief Ome screamed. His wife ran in. But the mirror showed nothing. He dismissed it as stress. The next day, he was scheduled to sign the documents. But before he could leave for the meeting, a massive fire broke out at his warehouse, the one holding in 20 million worth of imported electronics. Everything burned. By evening, his account was frozen. His business partner disappeared. And just like that, he no longer had the money to buy the building. One blistering afternoon, the sun beat down without mercy. The street shimmered with heat waves as Mr. Agadi slowly stepped out of the building, frail, hunched, and unrecognizable. Hunger gnawed at his belly. His slippers flapped against the dusty ground as he dragged himself to the roadside, hoping to beg someone, anyone, for a plate of food. Just then, he spotted a man walking past, the pastor, returning from his early morning cry on the hill. The pastor paused, sensing the heavy cloud of sorrow clinging to Agadi's frame. Their eyes met. Without prompting, the pastor began to speak to Agadi. You killed her, he said, voice cracking. You killed Chioma. She made you who you are. She gave you everything, and you gave her death. Mr. Agadi was stunned. His face tightened as if he had seen a vision. You are the architect of your own curse, the pastor said. This building is your prison, and you will never be free, not until you give your life. Then, he walked away. That evening, Agadi returned home, his body trembling. He stood at the exact spot where Chioma had been killed, now cracked and faded with time. He wept. Loud, broken sobs. Chioma. I'm sorry. I was greedy. Foolish. Please, forgive me. A cold breeze swept through the empty corridor. Then, she appeared. Chioma's ghost stood beneath the broken staircase, her face calm but cold, glowing softly in the twilight. There is no forgiveness in the land of the dead, she said. You took everything from me. My future. My breath. My love. So I took it all back. Agadi collapsed to his knees. I didn't know it would come to this. But I knew, she replied. And I waited. With that, Chioma turned and walked into the darkness, fading like smoke. That night, Agadi died. Alone. In silence. His body was found days later, curled up at the exact spot where Chioma fell. The building still stands. Its windows shuttered. Its walls whispering. No agent lists it. No buyer asks for it. No family dares live in it. Because everyone in town knows, the land belongs to Chioma. She guards it day and night. A silent figure sometimes seen staring from the balcony at midnight. Her presence heavy in the air, her revenge complete. And no matter how bright the sun shines on Ezioku Street, that building is always cold. Moral of the story. Never by the hands that fed you. Some hands, even in death, will never let go.